have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV.
Television addict! Television addict! Television addict!
Hello and welcome. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for a brand new episode of TV Guidance Counselor. I am Ken Reed, your TV Guidance Counselor, and I want to welcome you to the show. It's a great episode this week. This is yet another episode from the series of episodes I recorded out in Los Angeles recently, and my guest this week is Kumail Nanjiani. You might know Kumail from Silicon Valley, very funny, Portlandia. He's on a ton of podcasts, including his own podcast that just started fairly recently about television called the X-Files Files, and he has a pretty fascinating story about TV Guide that I think you'll enjoy. So sit back, relax, and listen to this week's brand new episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, Kumail Nanjiani.
I am a TV savage, and you know which goes to TV. I am a TV savage, and you know which goes to TV. I am a TV savage, and you know which goes to TV. She is a TV.
Kumail Nanjiani, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for doing it. This is normally when I welcome people to my home, but I'm on the West Coast, and we're at Meltdown, and a comic book store that does comedy shows is pretty close.
Yeah. It's sort of like home.
Yeah, more
I
or less.
realized I had to tell my GPS that this wasn't my home.
Yeah, it's like you're here so much.
I'm here more than, because I've been moving almost every year.
Right.
And so, to the GPS, this is the most stable.
It's like, it's a good thing, man. Just move in there.
Yeah.
It's hint to you.
It's nice here.
It is nice
This
here.
room we're in was, Kevin Eastman, you know who that is?
Yeah. He's
Creator
from
of-
Massachusetts.
Is he?
Yes.
Creator of Ninja Turtles. This very room he set up. He was moving from LA to Florida, just kind of like
Right.
with his family. And his whole office, he recreated his whole office in this room. And in that space over there,
Oh,
and he
wow.
basically was selling the entire office, like all the furniture, like tons of toys,
Like a weird art installation / flea market.
Yeah, but he was selling everything. So he
Wow.
had like a ton of DVDs, ton of
Yeah.
VHSs, like posters, original Ninja Turtles art, other
Wow.
art, heavy metal stuff.
Oh yeah, because he owned heavy metal. He used to. Out in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is in Western Mass. I think he's from Maine originally, but he used to own this thing called the Words and Pictures Museum out there, and it was the only comic book museum in the world. It didn't
Oh,
last very
really?
long. Yeah, because he used to own a company called Tundra that was based out of there that published a lot of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And you could just go out there, and it was an amazing comic book museum, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Like no one would go out
Yeah,
there.
he was married to Julie
Strange, yes,
from
Penthouse and Playboy
and Heavy Metal. She was
too.
the
She wrote an autobiography called 6'1" and Worth the Climb.
You don't have to convince yourself us
yeah,
of that.
yeah.
We know.
Yeah,
we know you're worth the climb.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think you need to say that. So
Yeah, penthouse lady.
Her whole her reasoning behind why she's so outgoing is because she fell off a horse when she was 10 and got complete amnesia and had to relearn how to do everything. So she said she unlearned all the insecurities you get in the first 10 years of your life.
Also, she grew to look like a gorgeous
Also,
Amazon.
She looks like an Amazon princess.
Yeah.
That's probably more a factor than the amnesia.
But Kevin Eastman is an awesome guy, and he would like hang out here all the time.
Oh,
So
wow.
we interviewed him on Meltdown once, just like on stage, brought him
Right,
up,
right.
and he was selling the first ever drawing he did of the Ninja Turtles.
Wow.
For $600,000, and I think that he just didn't want to sell it,
Yeah.
so that's why he priced it.
Just
like
priced that high. Did
Yeah.
anyone buy it? I wonder if they
I bet nobody
Nobody
did. I
probably
mean,
bought
but they
that.
had a ton of awesome stuff.
That's really cool.
A big Ninja Turtles fan, but
Yeah.
he sold the Ninja Turtles. He's done
Oh
with
yeah,
it.
yeah. I think he had a piece of it. I think, but then whoever was it Playmates or Archie or whoever the toy company owned it, Mirage Studios, and then it got bought by like
Mirage.
700 different people.
Yeah, well, Peter Laird, he bought it from Peter Laird years and years ago.
Right.
And then he was the main guy, and then he sold it not too long ago.
Right.
He sold his piece of it not too long ago.
Cashing out. That's a pretty good ticket. That's better than the Cash for Gold ads that they have on right-wing radio
Yeah,
all
cash
the
for
time.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, just storage
Cash
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, cash for IP.
Yes,
That's
we'll get
pretty
that
good.
for you. So you picked an issue from 1994. It's the week of November 12th, and you were looking for an issue from the first week you were ever in the U.S., which
Yeah.
you actually dug up, which we'll flip through in a moment. But you thought it was 94, but then realized it was 93. So obviously you didn't grow up in the U.S. I don't know if that's obvious, but I know that
Yeah.
you probably know that. This isn't the first place people will have heard that.
Yes.
And you grew up in Pakistan.
That's right.
And what kind of TV did you even get there? I assume you didn't get a lot of US TV.
We actually got, well, we used to get some stuff, you know, we used to get the big stuff. We got like Knight Rider.
Right, Alf.
Alf. We did get Alf.
Really?
Yeah, we got Alf, we got Knight Rider, we got some British stuff, but we just assumed that whatever we got was the biggest hit here. So for the first couple of years, I was making a lot of picket fences references.
Right.
And people are like, what the fuck are you
Not
talking
everybody
about?
watched Picket Fences?
No, not a huge show at all.
Yeah.
And Emily was like, why do you do this? And then she was in my family and they were making Picket Fences
Right,
references. So like, and I met this guy from Australia, same thing. Picket Fences was huge over there.
It must have just been cheap to send to foreign
Must have
countries.
been,
You could have
'cause-
bought it really cheap.
Because it wasn't a hit.
Yeah.
But like we never got Seinfeld. We got Baywatch.
Obviously.
I-
Everyone got
Everyone
Baywatch.
got Baywatch. So basically in Pakistan we had one channel,
Okay.
PTV, Pakistan TV.
Yep.
And then we had nothing for a long time. Then we had the first non-government owned channel came out, and they were the ones who started showing. Like, so PTV would show, like, they would show, like, A-Team, Knight Rider, big
Right.
stuff. Mostly Pakistani shows. And then we got our second channel. I forget how old I was. And I forget what that was called. But they would, you know, suddenly we had two channels,
Right.
and it felt like, you know.
It's a whole new world now, yeah.
Going from 1 to 2 is the biggest leap possible.
Well, that's 100% more channels.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But like going from 40 to 80 doesn't feel as intense as going from 1 to 2.
Yeah, even 100 to 200.
Yeah,
You're like,
it's nothing.
whatever.
Yeah.
1 to 2 is
1 to 2 is
100%.
huge.
Yeah, that is huge.
Suddenly, there's a whole button on your TV that you can use.
Yeah, you can
That's-
actually change the channel.
I remember like the volume on the thing was all, you know, worn down, but the channel one
Right.
was like completely pristine.
Because you never needed to use it. Like, why
Never needed to
why
use
even
it.
turn it off? Just turn it down.
Yeah,
Don't
you
even
just
hit
turn
off.
it down.
Yeah.
So we got the second one, and that was fuck. I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember. And so with that, then they bought a lot of like British shows too. So
Right.
that's when we got like Faulty Towers.
Okay,
and
everyone
the
got
show
Fawlty
called
Towers.
Rent-A-Ghost.
Rent-A-Ghost, yes.
know Rent-A-Ghost?
Rent-A-Ghost was a BBC series. It was a comedy about
Yeah.
people who basically worked with a ghost to like rent them out to hunt things. It was like
Yeah.
a reverse Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it was
But
like these.
really cheap.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 ghosts. and-
Rent-A-Ghost.
Yeah,
That's
Rent a
it.
Ghost. Yeah, and we got that, and we got like, you know, like only.
Only Fools and Horses.
Not Only Fools and Horses. We got that later, but Some Mothers Do
Some
Have 'Em.
mothers do have them.
Yeah, some mothers
a
do
really
have 'em.
racially sensitive show. Some mothers do have them.
Was it? What was weird about it? I don't even remember.
It was very. So that was a '70s BBC show where they had people basically in brownface playing Indians.
Oh,
yeah, it was
dude,
like
I don't
the
even
neighbor.
remember that.
Yeah, it was huge. There was a lot of shows like that.
You know what? I watched 48 Hours last night for the first time.
Yeah.
Nick Nolte's a racist in that
Oh,
movie.
absolutely.
And it's not as big a deal as it should be. He calls Eddie Murphy, he calls him watermelon for a
Yeah.
big chunk of the movie.
Yeah.
The N-word
Yeah.
with the ER at the end, not
Yeah,
the A.
right.
And he also, what does he call him? He calls him like, he's like racist to him the entire
I wonder
time.
if those were all his ad libs.
Yeah,
like
jeez.
I got. Can I do one take? I want to try.
One's for me.
Yeah,
This
All
one's for
right,
me.
a watermelon.
So
How's
then
that?
we only had 2, and then we got PTV 2. So the government
Oh,
was like,
okay.
"Oh, we need another one." So then we had 3, and we had 3 for the longest time, and then eventually they started getting Dish.
Right.
And when we got the Dish, that was when it exploded, and that's
get
when
anything.
we got there were these channels called Star. It was called Star TV, and it was a whole network of channels, and we
Okay.
got like Baywatch, and we got MTV, and that's when it sort of exploded. And
No.
that was probably I was 12 or 13.
Which is the prime time for that.
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
it's amazing.
And when they would show these U.S. shows, were they subtitled or did they dub them?
I think they were subtitled. They weren't dubbed. They were subtitled, and they would cut stuff out.
Really?
And I remember there was a certain period. So if you drank, if characters got a beer in their hand, that's out.
They would cut that out.
They would cut out beer, alcohol, and I think at a certain time there was a little period where they were also cutting out cigarettes.
Okay.
But then because we were allowed to have cigarette ads on TV.
Right.
Almost the entire time. There was a little period where it went away, and that's when they took that out. But the regular channels would take out like people drinking and stuff. But when we got the Dish Network, that wasn't sort of overseen by
Unedited?
the government. Then you could have everything.
Everyone went nuts.
We never had nudity or anything.
Right, but then after that makes sense because in '93 is when Pakistan had the great drunkard plague, where all the kids were getting drunk.
Oh
They could see it
yeah,
on TV.
totally,
And, you know,
exactly.
there was
Wearing
no
shorts
workforce.
and
Yep.
dudes wearing shorts and getting drunk. There were rumors that if you went up and you made your dish face a different direction, that you could get Russian porn.
Oh, really? Really? No
just
one, no
rumors.
one ever was able to do that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but when the guy would be up there, like sort of, moving the dish, like let me know when it looks good. I would
Yeah.
always be there, like hoping for.
Yeah, it looks bad. Keep moving it.
Yeah.
Keep moving it.
Yeah, there it is.
What was the biggest Pakistani show? Was it like a Pakistani sitcom or like a really?
Yeah, there were sitcoms that were big. Like the biggest show that ran forever, I don't know if it's still on, it was a game show. It's called Nilam Ghar, which means like auction house. So
Okay.
they sort of had an auction theme, but it would be
Right.
like like people from the audience would come on and they had to draw a face, and then audience would vote
Okay.
on what was the best. He would have like interviews. So that was pretty big. The American shows that got huge there were
Picket fences.
Picket Fences. That was later. That was with
Yeah.
the dish. Earlier was A-Team, MacGyver,
So action stuff.
Airwolf, Knight
Yeah.
Rider, action stuff. That's what translates the best.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's probably the most accurate view of America, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, cars
We're
that
fighting.
talk, fighting, a lot of
Yeah.
shooting. Yeah.
And then Matlock was big.
Right.
Murder, She Wrote.
Okay, so all the hour-long shows, really.
A lot of the hour-long shows. No real half hours, I think. I
I
can't remember.
wonder. I wonder if comedy just doesn't translate as well culturally.
That might be a problem other places. Like I was in the UK performing, and they know Friends.
Yeah.
But they don't know Seinfeld.
Yeah,
really.
Seinfeld was very obscure in the UK. So I lived in the UK. My wife's from England, and I started doing comedy over there, and I lived there for a while. And yeah, Seinfeld would be on. It was on like Friday nights at 1 a.m. It was
Really?
like a really
Yeah.
obscure cult
They didn't
show.
know Seinfeld.
But Friends was on like 4 times a day, every day.
So when I was there, and Australia, same thing. Like Two Broke Girls is huge there.
Right,
They
right.
love Big Bang Theory is huge there, but they
Yeah.
don't know Seinfeld. They know Leno, but they don't know Letterman.
Yep. Letterman's on ITV3, which
Yeah,
is like
it's
some
weird.
obscure thing. Yeah.
But what was interesting was Australia is similar in that they only have like 10 or 12 channels. So
Right.
if you do a show in Australia, you're
It's
a
huge.
celebrity overnight.
Yeah, the whole country knows you. And I imagine
Yeah.
it was like that in Pakistan, where everyone
Oh,
who
yeah.
was on that one
Oh,
channel
yeah.
was the biggest star in the world.
Yeah, we had a lot of like hour-long sort of serialized dramas,
Okay.
but they would be like mini-series.
Right, right.
So it would be like 20 episodes, and it'd be one story, then it's done.
Would they be like historical stuff, or would it be like modern?
Modern stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't watch any of the historical stuff. A lot of shows about how evil rich people are and poor
Right.
people are good.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Even though rich people finance the
They're
shows.
making the shows.
Yeah.
I know there was one show. There was like a kids show, and there was a guy who would sing with the guitar, and he was an actor who was in some other stuff. And he lived on our street, and I would
Oh,
see him and I'd be
wow.
like, "Look, that's that guy."
Did you ever approach him or like get his autograph or anything?
No, he was a nice guy. Like people would play cricket in the street, and sometimes he would play. He was just like a normal,
Just a normal,
guy. I
regular
never
guy?
talked to him really, though.
Wow,
But he
that-
seemed like he would be around. Yeah.
So the first time you came here was in '93, and you had mentioned that. What did you come here for? For school or
Just for vacation.
Just for vacation.
With my parents, and my uncle was in New York.
Okay, and
Queens.
New York, and you bought a TV guide.
Well, they had TV
had one?
guides.
Okay.
Yeah, they had like they had the box and they had every channel. So
So you must have lost your mind.
Oh yeah, I mean I did that thing where when they would leave, if you if you flip to the pay-per-view channel for
Yeah.
a second, you would see like green wavy
Oh
boobs.
yeah, the back and forth.
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of back and forth.
Yep, yep.
Right hand and left hand.
Yeah, I had this kid when I lived in England. Actually, in my dorm room, there was some frat dude from America for some reason was there. This kid named Pete, and he was really mad that he went to England and all his frat buddies went to Australia, and he would just like mope all the time. And I had a TV in my dorm room that I was stealing cable from the pub behind the dorm room.
And they were okay with it?
They didn't know. I just
Yeah.
spliced it and fed it
Oh,
through my
really?
window. Yeah, and I would get scrambled pornography, and I would leave my door open because sometimes people would go in there and watch TV because I had the only TV. Because you need a license for a TV in England, which is really weird.
I think you need a license for a TV in Pakistan
Do you
too.
really? If it's all
the
government, it
same
makes
system.
sense. Yeah. Did they have guys in vans with sensors that would drive around? In England, they could tell if you had a TV in your
Oh,
house. and
really?
they would, like, come
I
and
know when
find
we had
you.
to buy another TV, we had to like get a license for it.
Then it's less if it's black and white, and even less if you're blind. You
Oh.
pay like a
Why
smaller
are
fee.
blind people getting TVs? At
You
all?
might want to hear it.
Okay, get a radio.
Yeah, but this kid, he's sitting on my bed and he's flipping back and forth on the.
And you were
on the
there?
porn. I was out and I came
Yeah.
back and he's in there and he goes, "I don't know if that's an elbow or a titty, but I like it." And I was like, "Get out of my room! Like, what are you
So
doing?" It
gross.
was horrific. So, let's jump in on the one you picked, and then we can flip through the one from the week you were here. But so this is November 12th, 1994, and it's got Scarlett O'Hara on the cover. I don't know if you're a big Gone with the Wind fan.
I never saw that movie.
You haven't really missed much. You haven't really missed much.
Isn't it? It's always on the list of five best movies.
It is, but it's really southern, and I think it's long and boring. When I used to work actually in the UK. I worked at Turner UK, and Ted Turner had a screening room in the building that would just show Gone with the Wind all day. Like you could just go in there and watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very weird. So 8:00 Saturday night, what'd you go with?
I went with 2. Because I'm going to flip back and forth. I call this the Boner Hour.
Excellent.
And I'm going with Baywatch and House of Style. Because it's hard to pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I was maybe the world's biggest House of Style fan.
I loved that show.
I loved it.
And this one was, I saw this one had Sheryl Crow
Yeah,
on it,
Sheryl Crow, they go shopping with Cindy Crawford. I specifically remember this one. They go and buy they go buy boots on Melrose Ave. This is
really?
Yes. It was right when Sheryl Crow broke.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, she's talented and really hot.
Yeah,
so it was,
she is.
It was her and Cindy Crawford going to all the vintage stores, buying boots and vintage clothing.
Yeah,
on
I
Melrose
loved
Ave.
House of Style. I mean, because this is in the period when we get the dish, and now you have all the channels.
You get
and suddenly
MTV.
Cindy Crawford comes into my life, and she's big impact.
Yeah, a lot of teenage boys
Yeah.
really became men when she was,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Really.
And that show,
Her magical mole.
Exactly.
God.
And I had a weird respect for that show. Like if someone's like, ooh, I'm like, hey, this is House of Style. We're not watching it for that reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I want to watch Todd Oldham reupholster a couch.
And Baywatch, I was just a huge fan of. I've seen a ton of Baywatch.
There's
Mitch Buchanan and Hobie Buchanan.
Mitch. This one, Mitch helps an FBI agent played by Kathleen Kinmont to stake out the beach house of a mobster's girlfriend.
Okay, I don't remember that one, but what I did love was that when shit went down at the beach, it wasn't the FBI or the police that did anything. It was always the lifeguards.
Always the lifeguards.
There was one I remember where there's what are the lifeguard houses called? The little ones?
The little beach houses.
Yeah, whatever they are, where they hang out.
Yeah.
There's like a bad, they've got hostages in there.
Obviously.
And the FBI can't do anything. And Mitch burrows underground, comes out under it, and then just takes everyone
Which
out.
is a classic lifeguard technique.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's drowning, a lot of times they'll burrow under the sea and then come up from the other side.
Yeah, it seems hard. But how does he know how to dig? And share that plan with the FBI. They could help.
Yeah, or if you don't share, they might think you're one of the suspects and shoot you.
Yeah.
That could very well happen.
But, it worked out okay. And I was a huge fan of, I loved Mitch. I loved Hobie.
Yes. Really, Hobie, did you identify with him personally?
Of course, that was Hobie. Yeah. And weirdly, that show, I didn't really watch much for the TNA, and I wasn't a huge fan. I just liked the show.
I'll admit, it was kind of an engaging show.
Yeah.
It was like MacGyver in those shows. It was always someone in peril.
Yeah.
There was a lot of action.
Yeah.
And I also kind of like the soap opera aspects of it.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember that brunette? Didn't she get eaten by a shark at one point?
Yes, she did. So that was in the first season. Yet not Yasmin Bleeth.
Not Yasmin Bleeth. Yasmin Bleeth came later.
Yes, she came later. So
and then when she came on, then it was TNA.
Then it was
she was
TNA.
my favorite.
Yeah. So we had Alexandria Paul, who was in Christine, the John Carpenter movie. Yeah.
Yeah, she died.
She died. She got eaten by a shark.
Yeah.
And Billy Warlock was in the show, who was
who's Billy Warlock?
Billy Warlock had dark
guy?
hair. No, he was in the first 2 seasons. His father was Dick Warlock, who was a Hollywood stuntman.
I have to look this up because I know that I remember that name.
You'll recognize him because that name, you can't forget the name Billy Warlock.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a stage magician.
Like a great name.
Did you ever see Baywatch Nights?
Oh, Billy Warlock. I know this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched Baywatch Nights a little bit. That was like Baywatch meets X-Files, right?
Yes, it was completely insane.
Billy Warlock.
Yeah. There he is. It's a shirtless.
Who was the guy
Warlock.
that was in silk stockings?
Oh, that was
Eddie. Oh, was that his name on the show?
I can't think of his name, but he was like kind of a dickhead. He was like the brash young guy. He was like the thinking he was better than Mitch kind of guy.
Yeah. I like that guy too.
Yeah, he was smarmy. He was smarmy in the best possible way.
So I was a big fan of that show. And Yasmin Bleeth when she came on.
Yeah,
loved that show.
I loved her, and she was the reason I saw Basketball.
Really?
She was the reason I saw it, and I'm glad, and I thank her for it.
She's in bad shape now.
She's not doing well. I think she got arrested for some kind of DUI.
I met a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Speaking of that era, I met Carmen Electra recently. Very nice. And looks great.
She seems really nice. Did you ever hear how she got famous?
How?
She was her real name's Tara. Patrick or something.
She told me what it was. It is.
Yeah.
It's sort of like...
It's very Irish sounding. And she was just some dancer at a club, and Prince went there, and he was like, your new name's Carmen Electra, and here's an album I wrote for you.
Really?
And she put out this album.
It became famous.
Yeah. She had a single called Get On Up that was like a rap single.
Wasn't she on Singled Out
She
later?
was. She replaced Jenny McCarthy, and she was on Baywatch prior to that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's Carmen Electra.
Yeah, Carmen Electra.
In Burbank on Magnolia Ave, there is a store that sells wardrobe from movies when they're done, and they have 3 of the bathing suits from Baywatch.
How
there.
much?
They're probably not that much. They're very faded. Yeah, they're in a glass case, and you can buy them. One of them is.
That's why they're faded.
Yeah, Yasmin Blease. Yeah, they're not displayed properly.
Okay.
They should have got the UV blocking glass.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything to them, but I don't want to tell them how to do their job. But they are there if you want to see them in person. It's not that far. I would have gone with Baywatch because House of Style, MTV had like 4 shows and they showed them 700 times. So I definitely would have.
So you would have seen it.
I would have seen it maybe 3 or 4 times that day. But I was the world's biggest. I used to write them letters.
House of Style?
Yeah.
About what?
Just like how great I thought the show was.
I mean,
this is what I did.
Great.
It was great, but I was 13 and I'm like, they need to know.
That's really nerdy.
That is super nerdy. Yeah, I can't imagine anyone wrote them letters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were just like, ooh. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's pretty bad. And so that's an hour-long show. So we go to 9 o'clock, and what are you going with?
Well, I'm saying if I'm done, okay, 9 o'clock. I picked. It sucked because at 8:30, Pete and Pete was on too.
Yes,
so I was like, maybe I'll switch over if it's not a great episode. Great show, and I only discovered that show a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
At that time, I was not aware of the show.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine that show would translate to other countries.
Yeah.
It's such a weirdly American show.
So weird, but now and it still holds up.
Oh,
Fantastic
absolutely.
Show.
It's very timeless.
But what I picked at 9 was Ren and Stimpy.
Yes. One of the weirdest, greatest, grossest cartoon shows ever.
Both these sort of kids shows that are like sort of targeted at adults, kind of.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, Nickelodeon really, so for the first...
they used to be so edgy.
Amazing. So the first 10 years-ish of Nickelodeon, they didn't do a lot of original content. They basically just bought foreign shows and showed Canadian and British shows. And in the late 80s, they started producing their own stuff. And really around 1990s when they put out all the Nicktoons, the first 4 Nicktoons, Pete and Pete, and all these shows that have...
What's Nicktoons?
Nicktoons were their brand of cartoons. So you had Rugrats. You
mean Nicktoons.
Yeah, Doug and the
people love
other
Doug.
one. Yeah, and so that was their thing. They were like, yeah, we're doing our own thing. We're not just buying other shows.
Crazy shit.
Yeah, and it was crazy, and it was you couldn't believe they were getting away with this stuff.
Yeah.
It seemed like no executive was in charge. Or no one was looking at the stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
And that didn't last too long, but I think people our age were kind of in the sweet spot of being able to get that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Ren and Stimpy is such a great show. And Saturday Night Nickelodeon's was called Snick, was Saturday Night Nick.
Uh-huh.
And normally at 8 o'clock on any night of the week, Nickelodeon switched to Nick at Night. That's when Nick was over for the day.
Yeah.
And so it was really weird for them to say, on Saturdays, though, we go till 10.
Yeah, which is exciting, though.
Yeah, kids were like, yeah, it's for us. So yeah, Ren and Stimpy's a great pick. 9 o'clock, did you stick with it?
That was 9.
Oh, I mean 9:30, did you stick with it? Go with Are You Afraid of the Dark?
No, I went with, this is crazy. I was one of the shows we got over there that we thought was huge was Grace Under Fire.
Yes. So you watched Brett Butler's special?
I watched Brett Butler's special.
So
I was a big fan of Grace Under Fire. It had William Fichtner in it.
Yes.
You remember him?
Yes.
I
like
mean,
that show.
he's amazing.
Yeah, I like that show. And it also had Dave Thomas from SCTV, which SCTV is one of my all-time favorite sketch shows.
Yeah.
He was the pharmacist who was like maybe her love interest.
Yeah.
And
Strange Brew.
Yeah, exactly. Strange Brew is such a great movie. And this was her Showtime comedy special. And this was the comedian delivers her trademark biting humor for an audience in Portland, Oregon.
Do you know she was homeless for a while?
Yes.
Not too long ago?
She has a crazy life story even before that and then after. But
now, doesn't she? There's like a night, like Thursday night, she performs it every night, every week at some club.
Does she really? She burned every bridge on earth.
What happened?
So she was in the tabloids at the time. Her show, they touted her as the next Roseanne. That's kind of why she got Grace Under Fire.
Yeah, she's sort of like a blue-collar brassy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Older white lady.
She's like the white Roseanne.
Yeah.
And so the show was having all these problems. She was always having people fired.
Well,
yeah.
Which Roseanne was like that.
Roseanne was like that too, and I wonder if Brett Butler just was like that, or was kind of like an arms race between her and Roseanne. But she was having the showrunner fired and actors fired. She had one of the kids who played one of her kids fired and recast.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this.
And then she went to rehab partway through the show, and some seasons were like a half order because she was
a mess.
Yeah, it was a pretty good hit here.
Yeah.
But then because of all these problems,
They're like,
it just
fuck
trailed
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny that you would be like, biggest star in America?
Yeah.
Probably Brett Butler.
It's weird, the shows that, and I was looking through it and I realized like all these shows that you used to watch that were like sort of important to you that you don't think about that are gone. And I don't think anybody thinks about Grace Under Fire anymore. That show's gone.
That show definitely didn't go into syndication. It's not a show people were like, oh, my favorite episode of Grace Under Fire. No one's ever said that.
It's gone.
Yeah, but it wasn't a bad, like it would be on. I would enjoy it.
I watched it.
Yeah,
I liked
it wasn't
that show.
bad.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Sunday night. 8 o'clock. What'd you go with?
Okay, so I picked, and you'll see. I did not have a rebellious streak. I just loved whatever shows my parents and grandparents loved.
Okay.
So I was a big fan of Matlock and Perry Mason and Murder, She Wrote.
So
I picked
you like all the old people solving crime
fighting for
shows.
justice.
Yes.
If an old person is pursuing justice, little Kumail is on board.
So are you an only child, or do you have siblings?
No, I had a younger brother.
Would he be on board with that as well?
We watched the same stuff.
Okay.
Because we didn't really we had one TV.
Right, so you all had to compromise on
Yeah,
what you were
everyone had
watching.
to make a decision. But Murder, She Wrote, I loved. I love murder mystery shows, and Murder, She Wrote was awesome. But Matlock, I remember I watched so much Matlock.
Well, he was surly.
He was surly.
Yeah.
And I remember the one episode where it turned out that his person was guilty.
Yeah.
And then he sort of did it so that he almost framed her best friend, and then she comes out and is like, no, I'll
I have
so he
something
did
to
the
say.
right thing. Yeah.
It was a dark night of the soul for Matlock.
Yeah, because he can't, go. That's like he gets disbarred from the association.
His ass is on the line. I don't think he might have even said that. Matlock, my ass is on the line. When you and your family would watch these shows, would you do it in silence, or would you speculate on who the murderer was? Would you all be trying to figure it out?
We didn't talk.
No talking.
We would just watch.
If someone tried to talk, would they be like, "What are you doing?"
I don't remember that, but I do know that still to this day I'm very, very like don't talk during anything. And when I went with Emily, I remember one of our first dates, we went to a movie and she said something to me during the movie, and I was like, this is a big red flag.
Yeah.
And the movie was Prairie Home Companion. You remember
Robert Altman. Yeah, 2006.
Yeah, 2006.
Yep.
That was
Lindsay
our first
Lohan
date.
is in it.
Lindsay Lohan's in it. That's a good movie.
It is a pretty. It was Robert
Woody
Altman's last
Harrelson
movie.
is in it. John C. Reilly.
I invited myself along to the HBO Aspen Comedy Festival in 2006 because the Walsh Brothers had gotten into it, so I tagged along. And Robert Altman was there showing Prairie Home Companion, and I got to talk to him for like a minute. Wow. But it was like 2 weeks before he died.
Oh,
and,
jeez.
And he seemed very feeble, but it was really cool to just be able to thank him for
Robert
all his
Altman.
movies. Murder, She Wrote this night is an unexpected romance awaits Chicago Place Charlie Garrett. Chicago Place? That doesn't make a sense. On a high-stakes assignment in Martinique. That doesn't sound that exciting to me.
It's just another episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Jessica and a friend find themselves on a playground for the rich where someone is playing a deadly game.
that could be the description of every episode.
Every single episode. You did pass up Lois and Clark, which was...
You know what? I did consider Lois and Clark.
I did completely forgotten now.
It is completely forgotten.
It was huge here.
No, I totally did consider that.
It was the first sort of comic book thing that women watched.
It was, well, that was kind of my problem with it, is that I always wanted it to be a little more guy than it was.
Yeah, there was not a lot of action on it.
Dean Cain,
that's right. Probably the best Superman.
And what's her... It's
Terry Hatcher.
Yeah, Terry Hatcher.
She had made a movie right before that with Andrew Dice Clay called Brain Smasher, a love story.
And didn't go great.
Didn't go great.
Okay.
Got Lois and Clark. And they never had supervillains on it, which really bothered me. It was more of the romance story.
It was more romance. That's why I didn't.
Yeah, I wanted to
really
see.
Connect.
I even enjoyed the Superboy series in the 80s more than that.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
It was made at Universal Studios, Florida.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty wonderfully bad. It was a syndicated series. It was on for 5 seasons.
One of my first crushes was Supergirl.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
she looked great.
I think that's probably everyone had a crush on Supergirl. Supergirl. The which version though? The film version?
The film version.
Yeah, so Helen Slater.
Helen Slater, that's who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there's a scene where she stuffs her bra, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. You're
Supergirl.
perfect.
Yeah,
You're
that should
doing
be one of
great.
your powers.
Yeah.
If you ever meet her, you'd be like, I just years ago I
What
thought
does Helen
this.
Slater look like now?
She looks really good. I met her at a convention a couple of years ago. She was in an episode of Supernatural about 2 years ago.
People love that show. I've tried. I haven't gotten.
It's silly. It's a silly show. The first 5 seasons have some good stuff. You know who wrote some of the best episodes is Ben Edlund, who created The Tick and wrote for Angel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
People love that show, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
got a
definitely
big cult following.
It's got a big cult following, and it's definitely a teenage girl show, but there's some interesting stuff in it. Some of the episodes are terrible.
It is a teenage girl show.
Yeah.
It's about 2 hot brothers.
Exactly, fighting monsters.
Yeah.
I was in line, my wife and I were in line waiting for the Friday the 13th remake and to see that in the movies, and there were some teenage girls behind us. And they,
The new one?
The new one, yeah, which is pretty good.
I know Jason from that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mears.
Derek Mears.
Derek Mears, yeah. And it's pretty good. It remakes basically the first 3 movies in one movie.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I totally thought that would like get the franchise
I
started
thought
again,
so as well.
and it did.
Yeah, and Jared Padalecki from Supernatural.
That's
was in
right.
it. So these teenage girls knew him from that, and this girl goes, "What is this movie?" And she goes, "I think it's a remake of some like super old movie about a haunted lake."
No way.
Yeah.
How do people not know? They were especially dumb.
Yeah, they were especially dumb, and they were like 15.
But 15-year-olds know Friday
They
the
should
13th.
know. And
Yeah.
then one girl goes, "I hope he was wearing a T-shirt in it because he never wears those enough on Supernatural. It looks so hot." I was like, this is what they're concerned
Perfect.
about. Yeah. So you were watching that for an hour, and at 9 o'clock, what are you going with?
I go with Married with Children because that was a show when I visited the year before this. The idea of sort of like a raunchy comedy was so crazy to me.
That would never air in Pakistan.
No, that would never air in Pakistan. I remember one of the jokes they did was really funny. Was he has to something happens and he has to get a circumcision, or he
Okay.
gets a circumcision by
Okay.
mistake, and it's I believe it's Ross Perot or somebody. So he's like, I can't get an erection.
Right.
Nothing, I
Nothing
can't.
works.
No, like if he gets an erection, it's horrible because
Oh,
it's stitches.
gotcha. Yeah. He'll
So
tear
the
the
whole
stitches.
episode is like it's about how he should not get an
So he's
erection.
fighting the boner.
He's fighting a boner, which to me was so crazy that they did that.
That's pretty extreme even for Married with Children.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
And
must
so-
have been a later episode.
There's one where it's like on the cover is I think it's Ross Perot or somebody,
Right.
And his friend says, "Hey, look, his hair looks kind of like a vagina or something," and you hear a pink, and he's like, "What's that?" And Al
screams.
Bundy goes, "A stitch." Like
Oh, dear
yeah,
God,
I was
yeah.
like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that's on TV." And then of course Christina Applegate
Who doesn't love Christina Applegate?
and the mom, both hot,
Ridiculously hot.
both ridiculously hot.
I always was like the least realistic thing on this very silly cartoonish show is that Al's like, "I do not want to have sex
Yeah,
with her."
crazy.
I'm like, whoa.
What was a show that felt like a Married with Children ripoff, and they had like a puppet that
Happily
would talk?
Ever After, and the puppet was voiced by Bobcat Goldthwait. Nikki Cox was on the show.
Nikki Cox.
Yeah, it was on the WB when it first
And it was a
started.
ripoff of Married with Children.
Complete ripoff of Married with
That's
Children.
right.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Married with Children to me, it was a show I always watched growing up, and I've tried to rewatch it. It's just like embarrassingly
Yeah.
terrible. But it seems like a show made by a foreign country to make fun of America.
And
you know what I mean?
we
Like,
loved it.
Yeah, I imagine
Like,
that's why
you nailed it.
sport well. And that show has actually been remade in over 60 countries.
Married with Children.
Yes, there's a guy who put together a website of all the foreign Married with Children's with clips and photos, and it's hilarious. Like you can Google like foreign Married with Children remakes, and it'll show you all the different ones in all the different countries. And it's one of the most remade American shows in other countries.
Such a cynical show.
Absolutely.
Everybody hated everybody.
Everybody hated him, and everyone was a bad person.
Everyone was a bad
on that
person.
show was a
Yeah.
terrible, terrible person. Yeah, did not reflect well on Americans or people in general. And in this one, Jack Hacksaw Reynolds, Bubba Smith, and Ken Stabler try to turn Al into a tackling dummy when his big mouth brings on a grudge football match of a high school alum. I remember this one.
That
This
sounds
is-
like a good one.
that was actually a pretty good one because he's
Yeah.
always talking about the polk high game that he won, and that was
Yeah.
the height. That was one thing I really did like about that show was it was a guy who peaked in high school.
Yeah, and
was
knew
the
it,
biggest
yeah.
loser now, and
Yeah.
you never saw that kind
They
of thing.
were all assholes and
Yeah,
idiots. And yeah,
absolutely.
you never see that. That was
No,
great.
it was a very odd choice. 9:30. Would you go with?
I went with a show that I sort of barely remember. The George Carlin show.
Terrible show.
What was this show?
So basically,
I have vague memories of it.
So first of all, it was way too late for George Carlin to have a sitcom. This was like the almost end of his career.
Yeah.
And it was basically like they took Cheers and they took Taxi and mashed them together to make a show for him. He played a taxi driver who hung out in a bar.
Oh,
That's
okay.
literally the
That's
plot
great.
of this show. And they had a very good supporting cast. I mean, Alex Rocco was in it. It was a really great supporting cast. They had good writers. It just didn't work. It just wasn't good.
I think I remember being excited about it and watching a couple of it. What happened was when I visited America, I totally bought into all the, hype for new shows because I
Right.
was not used to that at all.
Oh,
In
yeah.
Pakistan, we never had, there's a new show coming out. There was no ads,
Right.
nothing like that.
Because you only have one station. You don't need to advertise.
Yeah, and most products, we didn't have multiple brands of products. Like
Really?
with cookies, there was basically 2 companies and only a few flavors. I remember juices when the second company started. So most products, the brand names was just one kind.
You just
that
got
get.
what you got. And
You
that
got
was
what
it.
you got.
And then you don't need to advertise because why?
So it was weird to me watching commercials for so much stuff. Most of the commercials on TV, I remember there was fertilizer commercials and stuff because it
Right.
was also targeted at farmers and stuff
Right,
like that.
right.
And it's one channel, so there's no real targeted advertising.
It's everybody.
Everybody's
Our
watching
demo
this.
is everyone.
Yeah, so we'd get one ad for a juice for kids and then one ad for fertilizer and toothpaste. So there weren't really a lot of different brands. So I loved American advertising when I came.
And you must have been very vulnerable to it.
Oh,
because
yeah,
the claims, you were like, it must be true. This is the best thing ever.
I remember coming and then I talked to you about this. It's that show.
Yes,
and that
yeah.
was 98 or something.
Yeah.
So I'd already moved here. I remember when that show, they were hyping it out. I was
big time.
this show's going to be the best.
Yeah, and that show, they
That was an L.A. Seinfeld.
It wasn't L.A. Seinfeld, but they also tried to get sort of the Friends hype too.
Oh, yes.
But it was 4 hot girls, but
Yeah.
they were L.A. Seinfeld, and it didn't.
They
it
were
didn't do very
not
well.
likable.
No, everyone was a bad person on that
Yeah,
show. That's when the shift started to happen. Seinfeld was obviously a big influence on that. When then all the protagonists,
all
of shows were
anti-heroes?
just awful.
Yeah.
Not even heroes, just anti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just antis.
So you were the George Carlin show's got to be the best thing ever.
Yeah,
They're
I was
hyping it
excited
up here,
for it.
and then
but I barely remember it now.
when you would get here, would you just try to soak in as much as you possibly could?
I watched so much TV when I was here. I told you this was earlier, but I would watch the Batman the Animated Series every day.
Yeah.
That was the best, one of my favorite shows.
It's still very, very good. I
good.
still think that the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm DC animated animations are the best comic book adaptations that have ever been done.
Yeah.
Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, I haven't really
fantastic.
gotten into those.
If you liked Batman, it's
Justice
you'll
League
love
and
it.
Justice League Unlimited, I saw
Fantastic.
ones here and there. It looks awesome. The hard thing is with my wife, that is a tough sell.
Yeah.
We watch most of our TV together. That is
Right.
a tough sell.
Yeah.
I know a lot of those new Marvel and DC animated stuff is supposed to be pretty good. I sort of made her watch the one. It's sort of it's the Green Lantern one. I forget what it is.
Yeah.
First in Flight or
First
First
Flight,
Flight.
yeah.
It's
It's
basically
okay.
like Training Day.
Yeah.
But with those guys, she liked that. That was good.
Oh, if she liked that, she would like Justice League Unlimited because it's like a better version of that.
Okay.
And it's serialized too.
It looks so good.
It's really great.
The animated stuff I really got into. This was early. Was X-Men. That X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, loved that.
When you would go back to Pakistan, would your friends all be like, "Tell us what you watched"?
Sure.
Because you had tales.
But the
from-
thing is, I was way more into pop culture than anybody else was.
Right.
So I had some friends who were into it. One guy I know, his parents got divorced and his dad lived in America or his mom. No, his dad lived in America and his mom lived in Pakistan. So he would go to America all the time to visit his dad. And so he always had the best stuff. And right around when Batman came out, he was the fucking king.
He'd
'cause
get
he had
decked out.
all the Batman stuff. So,
Yeah.
so he had a Game Boy. He
Oh,
was
wow,
fucking
this kid
cool.
was- yeah.
This kid. So that kid gave a shit about pop culture, but a lot of the other kids really didn't. That was the rarity.
What would the other kids do? Like,
to go out and play, dude? 'cause
that's
there's
crazy.
Sports. That's
just doing cricket?
yeah, cricket. A lot
Yeah,
of cricket. A
cricket's
lot of
huge.
cricket. Yeah.
Would cricket be on TV?
Yeah. All the
Yeah.
time.
So I imagine
I loved watching cricket.
when cricket was on TV, no one was in the streets.
No
Everyone was
one's
just
the
in
streets.
watching
No, I mean
cricket.
when cricket's on TV, it's one channel. That's all they're showing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fucking great.
Yeah, so if you want to go streaking or rioting,
That's
do it when cricket's on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
best time to do
Yeah.
it. But don't drink or smoke.
That's when you want to burn your Qurans in the street.
Absolutely. So let's move on to Monday night, the saddest night of the week, as I always say, because
Yeah.
you've gone to school, you've gone to work, you really need something to take your mind off it.
I'm watching 8 to 10, a 2-part Star Trek: The Next Generation with Q.
Really? So
yeah.
did you always watch Star Trek: The Next
Yes,
Generation? Did
big fan
that
of-
make it over to Pakistan?
Yes, Star Trek: The Next Generation did make it over.
Did the original series air over there?
So Star Trek: The Next Generation was on one of those either PTV or one of those three it was on,
because it's quality television.
and they aired it completely out of order.
Right.
So Tasha Yar dies. Spoiler alert.
Right.
And then she's back the next episode. I was like, oh great, that was just the
Must
idea
have been
of
some holodeck thing.
Yeah. The idea of serialized stuff didn't really, because all the shows we watched, they sort of showed everything out of order.
Right.
So I always thought that these are like hour-long things. Like 2-parters would be out of order, random spots all the time.
Do you think that was incompetence or just not caring?
Just not caring.
Yeah.
They just didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I was like, yeah, just show me.
I saw it anyway.
As long as I'm watching it.
Right.
So then when she was back, because I had a huge crush on Tasha Yar,
Who didn't?
too. Huge
Yeah.
crush. Came back next episode, oh, thank God, she's fine.
Yeah.
So big fan of that show. And then later when we got the dish, and it was one of those where we had TV from like 9 a.m. to like 10 p.m. And at 10 p.m. there's the Pakistani national anthem.
Which is
and
shut
there's
off?
No TV.
Oh, God.
No TV at night. It's like the boo.
That
thing.
terrifies me, that prospect.
Yeah, so it's just like a clock on the screen with just
mocking you.
Nothing. Yeah. Remember when this was
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
This is nothing now. But when we got the dish, now it's 24-hour TV.
Did you just stay up all night?
Game changer. Everything's different. And they would show, every day they would show Star Trek, the original series.
Right.
And then I really got into that. And
Yeah.
I loved that. And I've watched almost every Star Trek, the original. And I was a little bit older than I was probably about 15 when I got into
Right.
that.
Because that's very different. I never got that into... Everyone I know watched Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, you didn't get into
I
it?
couldn't get that into it. I like the original series because of the weird 60s-ness of it really appealed to
so
me.
weird.
My wife's a huge Star Trek: The Next Generation fan, so I've been sort of rewatching some of
It's
them
an
now.
amazing
It
show.
is a good show. What do you think set you on that path for being really into pop culture when you were a kid, unlike the other kids you grew up with?
It is interesting. I don't know. I mean, I would watch a movie every single day, an American movie. My dad would go to the store and just get like 7 random movies,
Right.
and I would just watch one every day.
I used to do the same thing.
After school,
but
I'd
for
watch
Pakistani
a movie.
movies.
Yeah.
No, but I watched a movie every day.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
These movies are 4 hours long.
Yeah.
Nothing happens in them.
So your dad was kind of into it too?
My
or-
dad was big into movies.
Okay.
We sort of had a room where we had like movie posters up on the wall.
Oh, nice.
And I remember so every movie in Pakistan was a bootleg. Every single
Right.
movie. And then I remember the year, one of the first movies that was officially released in Pakistan, this one company started actually like getting licenses and selling them in the actual box. So like
Right.
my friend, the same guy I was telling you about, when he went to America, he got the Ninja Turtles movie in the slipcase.
Oh yeah, so you were
And
like, wow, he's for legit with this thing.
That was cool. Yeah. And before that, they had an ad for Pizza Hut.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you
Yeah.
remember that with
Oh,
the
yeah.
kid playing baseball?
Yep.
So we didn't have that until I forget what year it was, but so they started releasing these VHSs, and one of the first movies was Star Trek Generations.
Okay.
Was
So
one
that
of
was
the
97. It must have been.
Was it 97?
95 maybe.
95.
Yeah.
Probably. So I
Wow,
was like,
that's late.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
late. So that's when those movies started coming out. What was the question? Why did I get into pop
Yeah.
culture?
So if everyone else is into sports and
I
going
don't
outside,
know.
what do you
I
think set you on the path to be into the pop culture stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I think it was the early stuff that I really loved was like Ghostbusters,
Right.
E.T. And I remember my cousins being sort of into it, but then I got way more into it than anybody else. And video games. I got way into TV, movies, and video games.
So you really gravitated towards sci-fi stuff from the start, and you don't really even remember
Sci-fi, horror. Really loved that
What was the
stuff.
first American thing you remember seeing? Do you remember a specific thing?
I mean, when I was a little kid, the early memories I have, I had an aunt in Singapore, and I'd go to Singapore all the time.
Yeah.
The early memories I have are like V.
Yeah,
the original V.
series, yeah.
Loving
Jane
that.
Bodder eating the guinea pig.
Oh, yeah.
Which is oddly arousing.
Hot.
Yeah.
Hot.
She lives in Australia
She's
now
hot.
and records albums.
She does?
Yeah.
She was like a
Yeah.
Diana was in
Diana,
it.
yep.
Yeah, she
Yep.
was hot. Robert Englund was on
Yep.
it. So I remember that as one of the super early things. I remember Smurfs very
Yep.
very early, loving that. I remember. No, Knight Rider, I have like very specific memories of. So this is like the little bits I remember are V and Smurfs. That's
so pretty contemporary stuff, and both shows about oddly colored weird things.
Yeah,
invasive,
exactly.
oddly colored species.
Yeah, and great shows, both of them.
So was Q your everyone seems to love Q the most. I
loved
on
Q,
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I loved Q.
He was just an omnipotent guy, kind of fucking with everyone.
Yeah, his whole thing. They were like, oh, let's just make an episode where there are no rules. Bring Q in. So that's a two-parter.
Yeah. So I probably wouldn't have watched that then. I'd probably check it out now. But I definitely think I would have watched The Nanny. I had a thing for Fran Drescher. And
really?
At the time,
I had a thing for her too.
I'd throw it on. No big deal.
Yeah, she was hot.
Yeah. And then at 8:30, I'm probably going to go with Blossom, a show that I enjoyed.
I never really got into Blossom. Emily, my wife, loved Blossom.
It was a teenage girl show.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
I mean, I figure, hey, I'm doing House of Style. Might as well go with Blossom. I also had a subscription to Sassy magazine.
Oh, she did too.
Yeah.
But she's a woman.
Yeah. That's the big difference.
To Sassy magazine.
I did. Yeah. I used to get my sister subscriptions to these girls magazines, but the Sassy one I got in my own name.
Yeah.
And they sent me as a subscription gift these like mailing labels that said Miss Ken Reed.
They were like, "There's no way." It sounds like a guy's name, but there's no way.
There's no way.
Kendra Reed.
Yeah. So I thought, hey, I'm learning about women. That was my excuse.
So Star Trek was big, and honestly, this week I'm going to show off a little bit. Patrick Stewart tweeted at me.
That's pretty awesome.
Just last week, and
the first
I
time
almost
ever.
cried. Of course.
Yeah. Was he like, I heard you doing Ken Reed's show?
Yeah. He's like, sorry, Ken, big fan. Even though he never liked The Next Generation.
Yeah.
No, he likes Silicon Valley, the HBO show I'm on. So he tweeted at me and Mike Judge, and he said the show he's like, officially hooked, big fan, brilliant.
So
and I almost cried.
That's a good in to talk about how weird was it for you the first time you actually were on television and realizing that the reach of that is international and these things are airing everywhere, and there are people like Patrick Stewart who you're in his home.
That's crazy.
I mean?
The Patrick Stewart thing is crazy. I've been on a few TV shows, but nothing really that is like has any sort of international appeal. Like Franklin and Bash, I was on for 3 years. That did okay here. I think it aired in like the UK. It did okay there. I got recognized from it a little bit, but that's a different. Portlandia is a very American show. True. I don't think it has much appeal.
That humor
outside.
might not translate everywhere else.
But Silicon Valley, it's interesting. I'll read reviews of it in Italian. It's just started airing in the UK, or it's about to start. It just started. It's airing in Australia. It's airing in Sweden. It's airing in Dubai.
Do they dub them or subtitle it?
I know that there's like a Spanish one.
So have you seen yourself in
I haven't
Spanish?
seen the Spanish
Are you curious,
thing. I want
though?
someone to Vine it. Yeah. So it's interesting. This is the show, I think, partly because it's HBO, and it is a fairly broad show. I think it's sort of airing in different countries. So that's sort of exciting.
Will it air in Pakistan? Have you ever been on television in Pakistan?
I don't know. It's weird. I don't think people in Pakistan are really aware of me. My family is. But I don't think even kids that I went to like high school with and stuff are really aware of me, because I've done like Letterman and Conan. I don't think those shows air over there. I think like Leno does. So it's just sort of been, I don't think Franklin and Bash airs over there. So, but I think Franklin and Bash aired in Dubai or something. I don't know. But
so it's weird to live this sort of double life almost. If you go towards your family or the people that you know growing up.
Yeah.
Where over here you're a television star, and they're
nobody.
Really
I don't think. Yeah, and every now and then I'll get a thing where like, oh, this show has a Pakistani guy in it. Like El India. Did like a little thing on me. Even though I'm from Pakistan.
They're like close enough.
Close enough. Yeah. It really is like that. Yeah. They look hard for that shit. So that's it's interesting. I don't think like my family knows over there, obviously, but I don't think anything is really sort of translated.
Do you think it really sinks in with your family though, because they get the scope of it, or they're just kind of like, it's this thing Kumail's doing, some little thing?
I don't think my family back home really gets it. My family here kind of gets it, but they feel weird about it. Like for Silicon Valley, they had like billboards up in New York and LA with like all our faces on them.
Picture of it, yeah.
And so they just never brought it up. But then when I went to their house, they had like a printout of it, and they framed it. and they'll get excited about weird things, so they won't ever bring it up. Like, it had been airing for a couple weeks, and I was like, Mom, did you see it? And she's like, yeah. And then she didn't say anything for 30
Right.
seconds, and she's like, it was good. So I think it's weird for them. They have no, like, into the life I've chosen. Like,
Right.
I just don't think it makes sense to them. I don't think they necessarily disapprove. They don't... Not that they approve.
Right.
Far from approve.
They just don't understand it at all.
There's no way for it to really make sense.
They have no
to them.
frame of reference for it, probably.
It doesn't make sense to them.
What was the first thing you did that people recognized you from? Like the first time you got recognized from something on television?
I think I've done little stuff here and there, but really Portlandia was the one that I think... And Portlandia is weird because you do it and people don't find it for another year, because when it hits Netflix is when people find it.
Right.
So I'd done that, and I really liked what I did on that. And then I was like, I guess people didn't really watch that show. But then a year later, I started getting recognized. And for a long time, if I go to the middle of the country, it's Franklin and Bash. Like, Ohio is Franklin and Bash.
Right.
Iowa is Franklin and Bash. But if I go to, like, Portland, obviously, but like San Francisco, Austin... Like sort of the big cities.
Towns.
The hip towns, it's
Yeah.
weird, but the hip towns, it's Portlandia is what people know me from.
Was there anyone you've worked with yet that you used to watch on a show that was really, like, just freaked you out having to talk to them?
I mean, I was a huge fan of Mike Judge, He wasn't on those shows, but I was very, very aware of who he was. Like, when we started getting MTV, Beavis and Butthead, I loved that show, and I loved Office Space. So that's been pretty...
Did you watch King of the Hill? And
I didn't watch King of the Hill, but I loved Idiocracy, Office Space, and Beavis and Butthead. I've seen some King of the Hill. I really, really like it.
It's good. It's good. That show is so under the radar because...
Such a weird show.
It was on for like 12 years, and it was just always kind of there. Like, it never... that's a show that I feel like would go to other countries, and someone would come over and think it was like bigger than The Simpsons because it was on for so long, and people would be like, I don't really know anything about that show.
Yeah, but people who love it really love it. It was almost like... It didn't need to be animated. It was a pretty grounded show.
Oh, absolutely. It was very, very realistic in a lot of ways.
Of course, I watched Saved by the Bell, and Mark Paul Gosselaar is in Franklin and Bash. So that's super weird.
That must have been weird. That must have been really weird. Did you ever bring it up to him?
Yeah, he'll talk about it. He's not one of those guys who's like, don't bring it up. Like, he'll tell you
Zach
stories. He's
Morris.
totally fine. Yeah, he understands it.
That's pretty cool.
He understands that that's a big cultural thing.
Yeah, I feel like you would have, if you were him, you have to. Like, you just
but then
have
there's
to.
some people who are like, how Don McLean won't play American Pie.
Yeah.
Mark Paul's totally like he'll
Mark Paul will play American Pie.
Yeah, he'll play American Pie
without even asking him.
That's right,
and he'll do the whole
He's
thing.
surprisingly good at it.
It's like we have to wait to shoot for half an hour because he started and he can't stop. Tuesday night. 8 o'clock, would you go with?
Okay, so it starts at 8:05. I went with Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
So this is on TBS. So TBS is Ted Turner's network at this time. He had a brilliant idea. Start everything at 8:05 at the 05s. And his idea was, if you watch one thing on that station, you're pretty much stuck there all day, because by the time it ends, all the other stations have already started.
Pretty genius.
That's sort of evilly genius.
It is evilly genius.
And what an amazing idea that he had.
But it's also tough because if it's like 8 and you want to watch something starts at 8, something starts at 8:05.
Yeah. You're hedging your bet there that they're going to stick with your
genius.
thing. So I love Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the show?
I did. I loved. One of my favorite types of shows were those sort of half-hour
horror anthologies.
Yeah, Tales from the Crypt. I don't know monsters. There was Tales from the Dark Side. What was another one?
Tales from the Dark Side, Freddy's Nightmares, Monsters, Amazing Stories.
Amazing Stories.
Yeah,
I watched.
Twilight Zone, the new Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I watched
Outer
Twilight
Limits.
Zone. What was? It was like Tales from the... There was one that was, to me, really, really, really scary, and it was like kind of it was almost really difficult for me to watch, and I can't remember.
Friday the 13th, the series?
No, it. I always think it's like the opening credits had like a tree.
That's Tales from the Dark Side.
Is that Tales from the Dark Side?
Negative?
Yeah, that's the TV show.
Mankind lives in a world what he believes to be.
Yeah,
yes.
That's the one that was too scary.
That's Tales from the Dark Side.
That one was too scary.
They did have some legitimate scary episodes. Some of them were very bad. Some of them were very silly.
There was one, I don't know why it got under my skin, but there's a woman who moves in, or a guy moves in, and next apartment, the phone keeps ringing, and he's like freaking out, and then he ends up eventually dies, and then his phone starts ringing.
Yeah.
I like those shows because there wasn't... I love horror. I always hate it when they try and explain it too much.
Yeah.
In that half-hour format, you can't explain it.
Just the highlights.
So it's just sort of, well, I just like that there's crazy shit happening. I don't need, like, the explanation's never interesting.
Well, that's one of the reasons I never got into sci-fi, because I forget who this quote is attributed to, but they said basically the difference between horror and sci-fi, the same things are happening, but sci-fi explains why.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I didn't get into it, because it would sort of, it wouldn't be as scary, or I'm just like, oh, there's even if it was some bullshit pseudoscience explanation, it still would sort of ruin it.
Well, that's why I liked sci-fi that was, like Star Trek. That's a different kind of sci-fi.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a Western show.
Yeah, totally.
Or a space opera. So I would have gone with Wings, which was a show that I loved.
Sure.
I love the Hackett brothers. I saw Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, in the theater.
Oh, wow.
I loved it. There's a great Stephen King adaptation as part of that called The Cat from Hell.
Yeah.
Which has... from the New York Dolls and Buster Poindexter.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
From
David
Scrooged, right?
Yeah. He's very, very good in that.
Joe DeRosa, my friend, who's a very funny comedian, just lent me this movie again because I was at his house. He's a huge horror fan, and I love Creepshow 1 and 2, of course.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You got to watch this again."
Yeah.
So I haven't
Slater,
watched it.
Christian Slater with The Mummy, which is based on a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. There's a Stephen King story, an Arthur Conan Doyle story, and Debbie Harry's really good in that show.
Yeah.
And that movie, rather.
So yeah, I've got that. I'm actually going to watch that tonight.
You should. It's very, very good. One of George Romero's finest films.
They consider it. He said they consider it a trilogy: Creepshow 2, and Tales from the Dark Side. They consider all part of the same thing.
Creepshow is. I love that movie. I love that movie.
Is that which is the one where Stephen King is the
Lonesome
guy?
Death
That's
of Jordy Verrill?
One?
Yeah,
what
it's
a
the first
great
one.
name!
So sad too. Like, it's comedic, but by the end you're like, this is really depressing.
Bummer. Yeah.
I waited on him once when I worked at this steakhouse.
I bet he was nice.
He was super nice.
Yeah.
He drives down from Maine to go to the Red Sox games, and he would stop at this awful steakhouse I worked with every time because it had been there for 60 years. And he'd always get a filet mignon and a grape nut custard and a Diet Coke. And he gave me my tip in $2 bills for some reason. So
that's cool.
I still have them. I didn't spend them, so I got to keep them. So Wings is on for an hour. I'm going with that. I would not have gone with Frasier at the time. I was gonna go with Magnum PI.
Okay, I looked at Magnum PI.
Yeah, I watched it all the time. Anytime it was on, I'd stop and watch it.
I looked at that.
I think I was mesmerized by his mustache.
Yeah. Shorts.
Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. What are you going with?
I'm going with 90210.
I could never get into it.
You never got into 90210?
No.
Oh man, I love that show. I love that show.
That show started the same week as The Flash.
Oh, and I love The Flash.
I love The Flash.
We got The Flash over there with Dawson's dad.
Yeah, John Wesley Shipp.
John Wesley Shipp.
And Mark Hamill was on it as the trickster.
That was a good show because that was the first time I saw on TV, I think, a superhero costume that actually looked good. I thought the Flash outfit looked really good.
It was, at the time, it was the most expensive television show ever made.
And is it the first one where they have that syringe that makes people into mutants and then the doctor guy? I thought that looked so good.
Yeah, the show looked great. It was obviously very influenced by the Burton Batman movies.
Yeah.
Which isn't quite a tone that works for the Flash, I think.
I guess I didn't see the Flash because I would have picked that over 90210.
It wasn't on this year, but it started. So when the Flash started, 90210 started. So the first year of both those shows was the same year, and they were on at the same time. And so I went with the Flash.
Yeah.
And all the kids at school went with 90210. And by the time the Flash ended, I was like a year behind. Yeah. I couldn't catch up.
Well, that's the difference, is because in Pakistan we got them on different nights. Yeah. So
maybe I should have lived in Pakistan.
Did Flash only last one?
Not even a full season.
Oh yeah, that's the only advantage. Though, is that Flash and 90210 are on different nights. Everything else.
It'd be funny if someone emigrated there and was like, "What brought you to Pakistan?" Be like, "Well, Flash and 902 are on different stations."
We don't have DVR, so
over here.
Flash only lasted 1 year.
Yeah, less than a year.
Was it a flop?
It wasn't a flop. Well, it was sort of a flop, but the problem was it was really, really expensive. So
it looked good.
The costumes alone cost $1 million each.
I had a crush on that lady doctor.
Yes, Amanda Pays.
Yeah,
she was in Max
Australian
Headroom. She's British.
British.
She married Corbin Burnson later.
Oh, are they still together?
They're still together, I believe. She kind of quit acting after that.
She shows up. I saw her in something else not too long ago, but it was an older thing.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
She's very pretty. She always seemed really smart. and kind of sassy.
Yeah.
She had a great voice.
Yeah.
She was playing basically the same character in Max Headroom. I don't know if you ever watched that.
No, I never did. You know what other show was huge in Pakistan that I don't think was huge here was a show called Manimal.
Manimal, yeah.
Yeah.
Manimal
Was that huge here?
No, it was a big bomb. It was on NBC, and Brendan Tartikoff. NBC used to be the worst rated
the
network.
guy's voice was
yes,
amazing.
I am the Manimal.
Manimal.
Yeah, he did Manimal and Misfits of Science, where Brendan Tartikoff.
That was a huge show there?
Misfits of Science?
Yeah.
Was?
Courtney
I
Cox.
I'm into Pakistan, man. I love that show.
Courtney Cox, and I remember the electricity guy.
Yeah,
Johnny B.
something.
Good. Yeah.
I, for years, I don't know.
Johnny Flash?
Johnny Flash, I think it was. Yeah. And then there was the Iceman.
Yeah.
Kevin Peter Hall, who played the Predator, was the guy who grew. And
He could like press the back of his neck and get small.
Yeah, that show and also Willie from Alf was in it. He was like the boss.
Really?
Yeah, Misfits of Science.
That guy's great.
Max Wright, I think his name is. They had jackets. They had Misfits of Science, like these
That
satin
guy had
jackets.
some troubles, I
He
believe.
had some child pornography troubles while he
Yeah.
was on the show Ghostwriter, the PBS show. Yeah.
Then I think they said he was, like meth and like he was. That's bad.
Yeah. I think that him and Yasmin Bleeth were hanging out. But I always wanted a Misfits of Science jacket, like one of these. It was like a purple satin jacket that says Misfits of Science.
I
on the back.
remember this was pretty early on. I don't know if I'd quite hit puberty, but seeing Courtney Cox and being like, that is the most beautiful woman in the world.
She's not, and this is that was before she was in the Dancer in the Dark video.
Yes.
She was a psychic, but her powers would change like however they needed them to
Yeah.
be. Like she's telekinetic. Oh no, now she's psychic. Oh no, she. Yeah, it was. She
I
could make
love
force
that
fields.
show.
It was a great show.
Flash was amazing.
It only went like 7 episodes.
Well, okay, so remind me of this. I remember hearing about it and never watched it, being excited, but then it sort of fell away because in Pakistan we get snippets of information.
Right.
There's going to be a Robocop TV show. Did that happen?
It did happen. There were actually 2 RoboCop TV shows. So there was a cartoon, which had a huge toy line behind it, and was actually
Not the cartoon. I know the cartoon. I had the toys.
Yes, but then there was a live-action, hour-long syndicated series that was mostly made in Canada called RoboCop, and it lasted 1 season. It wasn't very good.
Okay.
It was one of those deals where they did a 2-hour pilot TV movie, spent all the money on the special effects, and then just recycled those same shots for the whole year.
Okay.
V did that as well. So V started as 2 miniseries, and then was an ongoing series. The ongoing series, they just recycled all the shots from the...
Okay.
It would count really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, would you go with?
That's 90210.
Oh, that's right, 90210. So in this particular episode, Brendan is caught in the middle when Jewish students protest the scheduled campus appearance of a controversial African-American orator, and a demonstration disrupts Kelly's photo shoot.
I mean, the stakes were really high until the photo shoot came in. How were those 2 storylines?
I have no idea.
I like that they start with this big sort of. I mean, that's interesting. Jews against like Jews who are like, black people are being weird. Jews are being weird.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
And then
Issues.
it fucks up the photo shoot.
These issues are ruining. Racial tension ruins photo shoot. Film
White
at 11.
people photo shoots.
The weirdest thing is, so that's the TV Guide synopsis, but in the ad for 90210 that night, it's just a sort of a, well, I don't want to say sexy picture of Tori Spelling.
I mean, there's no such thing.
No, but it says, she always planned to wait until her wedding night, but tonight there might be a sudden change of plans.
That has nothing to do with the racial tension.
No, I'm wondering if there's a screw up here or if they just thought that wasn't worth mentioning.
Oh my god, that seems pretty big.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So
I'm into that.
so-
What's interesting is that the show here,
Models,
Models
Inc.,
Inc., which is on Models Fighting Crime, Garcelle Beauvais is in it, and I know her. She was on Franklin and Batch for a couple of
Had
years.
you ever seen Models Inc.?
No.
See, Models Inc. would have been great for you because it was like House of Style meets the A-Team.
Yeah, there were a lot of these shows where like models would sort of fight crime. Do you remember?
VIP.
You know what I loved? Cover Up. Do you remember
Cover Up
that
was
show?
very good, yes.
That guy killed himself by mistake.
Yes, John Eric Hexum was his name.
He with a prop gun put it to his head
Yes, he
and
thought
killed
it was
himself.
filled with blanks.
Yeah.
His voice was always too deep, like it weirded me out. He was on a show called Voyagers that was before Cover Up. That was basically
John Eric Hexum.
Not in 311. This Voyagers was almost like a U.S. ripoff of Doctor Who.
Okay.
And it was about a time traveler who basically kidnapped this kid and they went to different time periods.
And he was a time traveler?
And he was the time traveler.
That's interesting because I remember watching that show and the second season started and it was a different guy and I was like, what the fuck? And I didn't find out for years. There were rumors at school because everyone watched the show.
Yeah.
Because that was on the PTV or whatever. That was not on the
What a weird
cable.
show for them to show on
So
that.
everyone watched it. And then, because whatever show aired, everyone knew.
Yeah.
And it was years later, someone at school or something had like a newspaper picture of a newspaper clipping that was like, hey, look, because there were rumors that he was in a Russian roulette game and he died.
Russia comes up quite a lot.
They're the bad guys.
Yeah. So what actually happened was he wasn't the brightest guy from as far as I can tell, and someone.
This story will illustrate that.
This
the
will
final
illustrate
story
that.
of his life.
The poor guy. So someone was like, "Hey, John Eric Hexum, stop waving that gun around. It's dangerous." And he went, "It's only filled with blanks," and put it to his own head and fired it and killed himself.
And died 3 days later, which is horrible.
Because a blanks gun is still a gun.
There's still stuff coming out.
It just doesn't have the metal projectile. That's the only difference.
There's still a blast.
Yeah, you don't put fire next to your head. So
that was a real bummer.
We all learned that was huge. I mean, that was a huge news story.
Oh, was it?
It was.
Was that a big show?
It was. The show itself wasn't that big, but the news story.
But the
was
lead
huge.
of a TV show.
Huge, and
I didn't know that was huge.
Yeah, well, that's why they didn't cancel it. They had the second season because it was almost the best advertisement for the show, which is terrible. But when the show started airing again with the new guy, it was huge.
He was like British or Australian or something.
Yeah, it was huge for like 3 weeks, and then people were like, this show's terrible.
Yeah, love that show.
Yeah. So Models Inc. was a great show. Now, this whole night, I'm going with a movie.
What is it?
I'm going with the network television premiere of Steven Seagal's Above the Law.
That's a good movie.
I love this movie. Sharon Stone, Pam Grier. This is from his finest trilogy of Above the Law, Out for Justice, and Marked for Death.
Yeah, those are all great.
I could watch those nonstop.
I liked Direct to Video. That was a good one.
Yeah, direct to video, on the shelf.
Yeah.
Not in theaters. Those are all
they're
very
all
good
three-word
ones.
things, yeah.
So 9 o'clock, what'd you go with?
I went with Kung Fu the Legend Continues because I thought that was really interesting that they sort of took this old thing and then they sort of restarted it.
Yeah, they did. And so it was like a sequel series, basically, which really didn't come into vogue till maybe 10 years after that when you started getting stuff like Degrassi and the new 90210 and those sorts of things. You had there was a weird phenomenon in the mid 80s here where you had the new. So you had the new Munsters, the new Lassie,
the new Ghostbusters,
the real Ghostbusters. Yeah, you had the new Leave It to Beaver, the new Addams Family, the new Gidget. They were all of these new versions of these shows. New Coke, New Wave. You had all these different things.
That's right.
But this was a true sequel series, so this was connected to the original. Same guy, and he was sort of mentoring this new kung fu expert, and it is a terrible show.
Yeah, but I remember really watching that.
So this is
I realized I would decide whether or not I liked a show before I started watching it.
So even if you didn't like it, you didn't want to be wrong?
I just sort of convinced myself it was good. Yeah. So if you hit all the things I like, I'm gonna like that show.
Right.
I was big into Cover Up. You know what I mean? Do you know what other show was big in Pakistan? Automan. Do you know Automan?
So you got all the NBC garbage that they
was a bad show?
It was
not a hit.
Automan was Knight Rider, where instead of a car, it's a robot.
He's a robot, and he has a thing called Cursor and flies around.
It's like Tron, basically.
Yeah, huge show over there. I even remember the name of the guy, Walter Nebeker.
Yeah, that was a huge bomb here.
Huge bomb?
Did you get shows like The Wizard?
The Wizard! I was going to bring up The Wizard next.
So you were
the little guy who makes magic toys.
Yeah, so you got all the shows.
The Wizard was huge.
Wow, this is fascinating.
The Wizard was huge. I was going to bring up The Wizard,
The Wizard was very obscure here.
Really?
Yeah, all of these hour-long, like really high concept, crazy shows.
Loved all of them.
Did not do well here, and they were all expensive. Maybe that's why they were trying to recoup some of their losses by selling them to other countries.
Yeah, because I mean, those are big sort of premisey shows that would translate well.
Yeah.
But that's crazy that you brought it. The Wizard, Manimal, Automan, huge
Misfits
shows.
Misfits of Science,
huge shows over there. I just thought of another one that
So would kids at school be like?
Do you remember Nighthawk?
Street Hawk.
Yeah.
Mantis. Did you get Mantis?
See, I just saw Mantis in there. I don't remember what that was. We didn't get Mantis.
It was like a '90s version of Street Hawk.
Yeah.
It was on the Sci-Fi Channel.
What was the show? It had the guy who was Flash Gordon in it.
Yep.
Sam Jones.
Yep.
And he's in a truck.
Yep.
And it's like sort of like a Knight Rider but with a truck.
Yes.
And there's a copter that comes out.
Yeah, it's not Airwolf. It's called like Thunder Road or something.
I'll remember
like that.
the name.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna look. What's that guy's name?
Sam Jones.
Sam Jones.
Yeah.
Sam Jones.
Yeah, I remember
look this up. That was a huge show over there. He's got this big like semi.
So kids would come into school and be like, "Dude, you see the Wizard last night?"
Oh yeah. The Wizard.
Wow,
The Wizard
no,
was huge.
wow.
Was that TV show? That obviously not a big show here.
No, nobody watched The Wizard. Nobody watched.
But the one with the truck even.
No, that was not a big show either. All of these shows were pretty obscure and considered huge flops, and it's blowing my mind that they were huge in Pakistan.
The Highwayman.
Highwayman, that's it.
That's
exactly.
it. The
Yes.
Highwayman. You know what? Another show was big over there that I don't know much about. It was a show called Dark Justice.
Dark Justice,
It
yes.
was a guy who was a judge by day. And his hands were tied, so
Yep.
he'd have to let the bad guys
Vigilante
off.
at night.
And at night he would go get the guys who he had to let off. And all he would do is his hair was in a ponytail, and he'd take his glasses off and let his hair down. Like, wait, you're the fucking judge that just.
That
let
was a
me after
Canadian
that.
show. So
Oh, really?
Yeah. So a weird thing that I believe it was CBS did in the late '80s. In the summer, they had a programming block that they called "Too Hot to Sleep." And they would
Too
show
Hot to Sleep?
they would show these sort of sexy crime shows at night. So Silk Stockings aired there.
I remember
Dark Justice aired there.
Yeah.
A show called Nick Knight that starred Rick Springfield as a vampire cop.
I don't know that.
There
That
were all
sounds
of these sort
amazing.
of. I'm surprised that didn't do well in Pakistan.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, they were. So Dark Justice was one of those shows. Did you get Midnight Caller?
No.
Oh,
What's that?
Midnight Caller starred Lumbergh from Office Space.
Okay,
as
yeah.
a guy who ran a sort of
Lumbergh.
sexy radio talk show, giving love advice, and then was also a vigilante fighting crime.
Yeah.
Midnight Caller.
There was so many shows like he's this, but he's also a vigilante fighting crime.
Yeah, and I've never met a vigilante. I don't know if you have.
I mean, I haven't, but we needed one in Pakistan. That's
Yeah.
why we watched all of them.
Yeah, you
It was
needed a hero.
Yeah, we needed a hero.
And that was the biggest song there.
That's from Cover Up, isn't it? I need a hero.
Holding out for a hero. Yeah.
Cover Up.
So Wednesday night at 9:00, you're going with Models. Oh, Kung Fu the Legend. You passed up Models Inc. You
Yeah.
really missed out.
I don't
I'm
know
watching
that show.
Above the Law all night.
Okay.
We move on to Thursday, 8:00. What are you going with?
This is a show I really, really loved, and I was one of those where it hit all my buttons. I don't know if I actually loved it or if I just loved it because it hit all my buttons. I'm watching Hercules in the Maze of the Minotaur.
Ooh, yeah, not a great show.
I
Not a
loved
great show.
the Kevin Sorbo.
Kevin Sorbo?
It was like weirdly contemporary. Like there was
yeah.
just a sec.
It was sassy.
Yeah, they
it
would
was
do
sassy.
that stuff. I loved that show.
It was, in a lot of ways, it was ahead of its time. I think that a lot of cartoons are very influenced by Hercules
Yeah.
sorts of shows, like Disney cartoons now, where it's like, oh no, you didn't, and
Yeah,
like all
yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff
It
set
was
in
a
like
lot
a
like
historical
that.
time.
So,
it was
really
produced
loved that
by
show.
Rob Tappert, who's one of Sam Raimi and Bruce
Oh,
Campbell's
really?
good friends. So that whole
Bruce Campbell wasn't Briscoe County. It sort of had the same kind of vibe. A little
92.
bit.
Briscoe County was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was set in the Old West, but very sci-fi as well.
Yeah, it was sci-fi.
and had a sort of snarky, smarmy,
Yeah.
wise ass.
Yeah, which is what this was, yeah.
I think what happened was, so Briscoe County was on Fox and was a bomb, and it cost a lot of money.
really?
Yeah, it was a big cult hit, but it only lasted the one season.
Like everything that Bruce Campbell's done.
Pretty much, yeah. And so, although Burn Notice lasted a long time.
yeah.
I loved Burn Notice.
Did you
Yeah.
really?
Well, if you love the A-Team, I feel like Burn Notice, it's the A-Team.
I've never seen it, but I shot something in Miami, and the whole crew was the Burn Notice crew.
I mean, if you like the A-Team, you'd love Burn Notice.
Okay.
It's basically Burn Notice, and Jeff Donovan is from Massachusetts, so I'm always have a
his name's not Jeff Dunham, is it?
Jeff Donovan.
Oh.
Yeah. No, not Jeff Dunham.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if someone did a video of Burn Notice with Jeff Dunham, and his crew is just the puppets.
It's just his puppets, yeah.
So this, where was I talking about there? Oh, so I never really watched those shows, but Briscoe County Jr. was a huge flop on Fox, so that production team basically then moved to syndication and did it on a lower budget,
Right.
and did Xena and Hercules
Okay.
and Prince of
Yeah.
Thieves and all these shows where they managed to get them out that way without the sort of network brass
Yeah.
sticking their nose in, which was a smart way to go about
Yeah.
it. I would have gone, however, with My So-Called Life.
Okay. I don't know that show.
In
Emily loves
keeping
that
with
show.
my teenage
Yep.
girl, me
Yeah.
and teenage girls, same wavelength on everything except talking to each other.
Yeah.
But I love this show. It was very angsty. It was very 1994.
Jordan Catalano.
Jordan
everyone had a crush on
Catalano.
it.
Everyone. I didn't have a crush on him, but
Yeah.
AJ Langer, who was in It's Like You Know, she was on this show
Oh.
as sort of the troubled teen.
Okay.
This was right after she did People Under the Stairs.
Okay.
And it was a great show. It
That
was
movie's on TV all the time.
People Under the Stairs.
Yeah.
Disturbing movie.
Yeah.
A lot of Twin Peaks cast members in that movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Downtown LA. That's where it takes place.
Yeah.
But My So-Called Life is a huge one. And this one, Angela kisses off studying to spend time making out with Jordan Catalano.
Okay, there it is.
Yep.
Isn't that every episode?
Yeah.
Can you read the description of Hercules and the Maze of the Minotaur,
absolutely.
please?
Hercules and
It's
the
it's a
Maze of
movie,
the
so it's
Minotaur.
2 hours.
Yes, so the other thing about these Hercules, Xena, is the way that they introduced them was they sold these made-for-TV movies as pilots, but sort of backdoored
Well,
them
you know what
into-
I also loved? I was a big Archie comics fan.
Right.
And there was an Archie movie and TV show
Yes,
called...
Welcome to Return to Riverdale.
To Riverdale and back. Yeah.
And Lauren Hutton plays, not
Lauren Holly.
plays
Betty.
Yeah.
Hot.
Yeah, they did
And she's from Picket Fences, and now
Absolutely.
my world is
and
colliding.
Dragon, the Legend of Bruce Lee.
I never saw that.
She plays Bruce Lee's wife in
she's
that movie.
Dumb and Dumber and
Yeah,
stuff.
she's
but,
great.
But right then I was like, so I love that.
Yeah, I loved that Archie thing. That was a failure. Unfortunately, it didn't go to series.
Yeah, because they're grown-ups now. No,
Yeah.
People want to see Archie the way... We've never seen an Archie live action. Give us
No.
Archie, not grown-up
Although
Archie.
Dobie Gillis was pretty close. I don't know if you ever saw that show. It was a 60s show called Dobie Gillis, and it was basically a ripoff of Archie.
Oh, really?
But,
But I wanted to be called Archie.
Yeah, Archie's and River. They did some good animated shows, although
Yeah.
I didn't like Archie's Weird Mysteries. You ever see that cartoon?
No.
It's Archie fighting. It's basically Supernatural
It's like Archie...
with Archie.
You mean X-Files with Archie?
It's more like Supernatural.
Okay.
yeah, it's not great. So this is Hercules and the Maze of the Minotaur, made for TV. Herc, I like that they give him
Yeah, he's
Kevin
sassy.
Sorbo, and his comrade in arms recall past adventures as they head off to battle an evil man-beast who's as ugly as his heart. Anthony Quinn plays Zeus.
You know what this feels like? This feels like a movie that they padded out with clips from older episodes.
Yeah, it's a clip show movie.
Yeah.
That's pretty brilliant economically, but
Yeah, they made that's 2 hours of programming. Well,
Yeah.
little Kumail is in.
you're into that. So,
Yeah.
Did that air in Pakistan, the Hercules?
No, that did not air over there. But when I visited, I would watch it,
like-
and we would get there were if you go to find the video stores, you could get tapes of stuff that
Right,
people
right.
had taped from America with the commercials and everything.
Really?
And so I
At a
watched-
video store?
Yeah, you could go
With
to
the
a video
commercials
store,
and everything.
yeah.
I would have loved that.
And it'd be the same one, so it would be 5 or 6, that's how I saw a lot of the Spider-Man cartoons,
Right.
which I really, really love.
Which ones were they? The early 80s with Firestar and Ice Storm, or the 90s
Well,
ones?
those, but I'm talking about the 90s ones.
Okay,
Those,
yeah.
those were there, but it was the 90s one where it was the first time I remember a superhero cartoon looking good, right around when X-Men was coming out.
Yeah, which
that's how I saw X-Men too.
Yeah, on these bootleg things that you
Yeah,
rent.
with the ads in the middle.
That's great.
Sometimes you could see the guy hit pause and then
Fast
unpause,
forward.
and then
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's very. One of my other weird hobbies, in addition to collecting TV guides, is I collect old TV broadcasts. So I go to flea markets and get VHS tapes, and I transfer them to DVD. And I
wow.
have probably 10,000 DVDs of broadcasts with commercials and all that stuff.
10,000 DVDs.
Yeah.
How do you get these tapes?
I've been doing it for about 20 years, and I would get them at flea markets or on eBay, or I'd ask my friends, "Did you ever tape something off TV when you were a kid?" And
Oh,
they'd give it to
yeah.
me.
I
I'd
love that
transfer it
shit.
for them, and then I'd give them.
I mean,
a
that's
DVD.
what I love. When you go on YouTube and you find some weird fucking, a cable access thing
Yeah.
that aired once and went away.
Oh, yeah.
When someone got it.
When I was 12, I had a cable access show about comic books.
Did you?
Yeah. And we had Frank Miller on.
What?
We had Dave
How?
Sim on. So in 1991, no one cared about comic books. And so I would just write these guys letters like they were House of Style. And they would say they'd do the show. And when they would come to Boston, they would be on it, or they would do a
fucking
phone interview.
amazing.
Karen Berger from Vertigo, she was on.
Oh, wow.
I had Rick Veitch on because he lived in Vermont and he
That's
had just got
amazing.
fired from Swamp Thing. It was pretty great.
Wow.
I wish I had tapes of it. Although I
Okay.
kind of also wish I'm glad I don't have tapes of it. But
I
yeah.
would love to see it.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
weird cable access. So 9 o'clock, you're not watching
That's a
anything
2-hour
because
thing,
It's a 2-hour
yeah. But
thing.
what I did love was that Seinfeld and Matlock are on.
Yes, which is a tough choice.
Yeah, that's a tough choice.
Yeah.
So I don't have it because I'm already listening.
You checked out.
He's on his way to the Minotaur.
I would have watched Seinfeld absolutely at that time, and it's an hour of Seinfeld, so I would have.
Yeah, I saw that. That sounds awesome.
And so Friday night, the final night of the week, what are you going with at 8 o'clock?
I'm going with Family Matters, which I loved. Loved that show. I'm not happy
Okay.
about it.
Yeah, I
not happy
understand.
about it.
I understand. Now this show was not a good good show. And by 1994, it was the full-on Urkel show.
Is this when Stefan Urkel was around?
Yes, this was when Urkel was inventing like cloning machines and time travel machines.
Yeah.
I mean, it got a show that started out as a blue-collar family sitcom turned into one of the most ridiculous things that ever aired on
fucking
TV.
Stefan Urkel.
Stefan Urkel. This one is Urkel's life flashes before him atop Paradise Bluff when Myra hands him an ultimatum and Harriet rates her mate and discovers Carl needs to spice up his technique at barbecuing.
You know what? That's another clip show, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was it's the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
They're just phoning it in at this point.
Yeah.
I would have gone with a show that would have intrigued me called Ancient Prophecies 2. And this is a 2-hour
We didn't get to all the ancient prophecies.
We didn't have enough time in the first 2 hours.
There's so many of them.
And this is David McCallum hosts the sequel to last season's special, included alleged contact with the dead through ancient Greek oracles, a tribal rite of passage ritual, and modern-day mirror gazing in which reflections of the deceased are said to illuminate the future. Also, predictions from the Hebrew Kabbalah, and the late Paul Solomon, an Oregon couple who claims to have been guided by spirits into the future to see the changes to the U.S. landscape.
There it is.
I would love to watch that
I loved
now.
watching, I watched a lot of, Nostradamus specials.
Man Who Saw Tomorrow.
Yes,
With
exactly.
Orson Welles. He did it,
Exactly,
yes.
all that shit.
Did you ever see The Late Great Planet Earth?
No.
It was a documentary made in Japan, but it was made for the U.S. market. Orson Welles really totally drunk, talking about where the Earth is going, and it's just this doomsday prophecy.
Is it based on anything, or is it just him sort of,
bullshit.
this is what's happening?
Some Japanese guy wrote it, and so he's just reading. He's like, it's predicted that by 1991 the Earth will be encased in marshmallow fluff. And he just goes, poor guy. Before Transformers the movie, that's what he had to do to survive, and then died. So
Unicron.
He did 8:30. What are you going with?
Boy Meets World.
So this show I liked the first couple seasons.
Yeah.
And then it got it became a Friends ripoff.
Huge crush on Topanga.
Yeah, well, who didn't? I mean, everyone pretty much did.
Yeah.
Mostly everyone had crushes on William Daniels as well.
Wasn't Ryder Strong in it?
Ryder Strong wasn't it? What a fake name.
What a great name.
What a great fake name.
Ryder Strong.
Yeah.
That's what happens with kid actors. They get to pick their names and then you fucking saddle with it for the rest of your career.
Strong Ryder? No. Ryder Strong.
Ryder
That's what we're going
Strong.
with. In this one, when Corey can't muster the nerve to kiss Topanga at a party, he takes a lot of heat at school and vows to never date again.
Was this like a big... Was this in the school newspaper? What do you
Everybody
think a lot
knows.
of everyone knows?
If you didn't kiss a girl, got around campus. I mean, we weren't talking about the wizard. We had to talk about who didn't kiss.
You guys had so much more.
We really did. Step by Step, did you go with at 9?
No. Turn back one page and you'll see my favorite
X-Files.
TV show of all time.
X-Files.
Gotta go with X-Files.
So when did you first see the X-Files?
When we got the cable thing, the satellite, we got X-Files.
And so it was probably a couple seasons in by then, right? Or did you?
Yes. They sort of aired them out of order, I think. So I watched a lot of it.
That's a tough show to watch out of order.
Probably around 94 is when we got it.
Okay, so you're not too far in.
No. And I remember, I've rewatched them. I just started rewatching it for the fourth time.
Right. I do that with Twin Peaks.
Rewatching it for the third time.
Right. Watching it for the fourth time.
And when I first rewatched it, I remember thinking that I'd seen most of it.
Right.
So, favorite show of all time. This is 94, so this is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, Gillian
it's pretty
Anderson.
good right now.
Wow.
Do you watch Hannibal?
I haven't seen her. Is she on it?
She's on it, and it's a great show.
I have. I've heard great things about
It's a great show.
Yeah.
And she looks great. There's another British miniseries called The Fall that's on Netflix Instant that's really, really good.
With her British accent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She talks in a British accent all the time.
She grew up there till she was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Weird.
It is very weird.
It was so strange when I saw her first on Conan and was like, what
are you doing? What are you, Madonna?
Are you Madonna? Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow.
John, what's his name? Was Captain Jack on Doctor Who?
Captain Jack Harkness?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's Scottish. And he turns it on and off like it's nothing as well. That weird.
John Barrowman.
Jim Barrowman, that's right.
Yeah.
I love the X-Files. I definitely watched it at this time.
At that time, just X-Files, nothing else. What does it say?
So this episode is when scientists discovered a dormant life form in the hottest place on Earth. They made a terrible mistake.
Yeah,
this is the first episode with the sentient oil.
Yeah.
The black goo.
Which I really like that whole storyline.
Yeah, there was a definite point where I was maybe 17 and I was like, they don't know what they're There's no plan here.
No, they introduced multiple kinds of alien races. I think it's pretty good until the movie.
Yeah.
The movie I like
I saw that on a date.
as
and
a
it
fan.
didn't go over well.
Why?
The girl was like, I don't know what's going on.
Fight
I
the
don't like
Future?
this.
She'd
Yeah.
never seen it before.
No, we went to the theater and saw it.
like
She
it.
had never seen.
I don't like this.
She'd never seen the show and didn't understand anything and was like, this will never happen.
And then season 6 is pretty good. A lot of great, because you could see that there's sort of like the expectation of the movie's done, the big
Right.
storyline that let go of it for a little bit, and there's a lot of great, like quirky, weird
Right.
one-offs.
Which were always my favorites.
And then it's bad.
And I can't believe you haven't watched Fringe. You would absolutely
Yeah,
love
I
it,
don't
man.
know. I watched a
great.
couple. I know a guy. He will go to open mics in Chicago. His name's Mark
Valley?
Valley.
Yeah.
You know, he's a comedian.
Yeah.
Or was.
He was in the first season. He was also in Human Target.
Yes, Human
Yeah.
Target. He
Yeah.
was the star of
Yeah,
Human Target.
which was the second Human Target series. The first one starred Rick Springfield in that role.
Again.
Yeah,
Rick
he keeps
Springfield's
coming
back.
up. Keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's great on that show. He's in the first season.
I think
and
it's really good. There was a time when he was being talked about for Captain America that then Chris Evans got. But
I think he might be a little too old
Old,
for Captain.
yeah.
He would play a great if you did a story with an older Captain America.
Yeah,
it'd be
he's-
perfect.
he's-
he was
he's
on a
really
show
good.
called Keen Eddie that I really liked, which was a U.S.-UK co-production. And
Keen Eddie?
Keen Eddie. He played a U.S. cop that got transferred to London.
Uh-huh.
And Sienna Miller's in it. It's the first thing she
Oh,
ever did.
she's beautiful.
Really funny show, really funny, and a lot of British comics are in
Yeah.
it, like Alexi Sale doing like serious roles.
Oh.
It's a great show. It only lasted one season, and it's
Huh.
really, really
He's-
good.
He's really good, Mark Valley.
It's very funny. So that's the end of the week. But as you know, TV Guide, it is not just informative. It has opinions.
Yeah,
And it
let's read.
cheers and it jeers. So let's see
Yeah.
if you agree or disagree. We're about 50-50 this week. Cheers to Frasier for bringing Cheers alumna BB Newworth back for another guest stint. I'm okay with that.
I'm sure. I like Baby Newart. I was never big into. Never really got into Frasier.
I love Cheers, didn't like Frasier.
Yeah.
It's something about it was off-putting.
Yeah.
Cheers to NBC for having the unmitigated gall to offer Roseanne the opportunity to host their TV bio of her, one of 2 bios she's badmouthed every chance she had. I don't remember that, but
I don't know what that's about.
that seems kind of bitchy about something I don't understand.
yeah.
Cheers to Nielsen Media Research, the ratings people, for responding promptly to a task force finding that African American viewers were underrepresented in their national audience sample.
This is just them sucking off.
Pretty much.
The Nielsen ratings are so
Skewed.
bullshit. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's all,
I mean, the other thing is, they might not be watching TV. Clearly, they're disrupting fashion shoots.
yeah, that's
So
right.
that's why
yeah,
it's skewed.
yeah. And Jews are there too.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, but they probably wrote it.
Yeah.
Since they probably own TV Guide. Cheers to an annual tradition we really hate: reruns just a few weeks into the new season.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, you're all on board, and then it's
Yeah, what? I've
You don't
seen
need
this
a day
one.
off.
Yep.
Cheers to the Disney Channel's 5th American Teacher Awards, the Oscar cast for educators, packed with celebrity presenters like Alan Alda and Melanie Griffith.
That's not something that's stuck around.
Nope.
Not interested.
It's pretty bad when the Kids' Choice Awards go longer
Yeah.
than the American Teacher Awards.
Teacher awards? What is that?
How would you even vote for that?
Yeah.
How good were you at teaching math?
Everyone, all the kids would hate everybody.
Yeah. I really believe that you knew about history.
Yeah.
And finally, jeers to too many too cute transitions into commercials during NFL's broadcasts.
Yeah. Do not give a shit.
Yeah, bad. I'm indifferent to jeer. That's
Yeah,
where I go there.
yeah.
Well, you're welcome to have the TV Guide of the first
Oh,
week that
thank
you came
you.
here.
I will take
It's
it.
got Dolly Parton on the cover, which must have been quite a
Oh my god.
wake-up
What an
call.
entrance to America.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for doing
Oh,
the
thanks
show.
for having me,
You're
man.
welcome.
That was super fun. Thanks.
And that was our episode with Kumail Nanjiani. I think that was very entertaining, very fun episode. He's a great guy. He's very funny. Definitely check out his X-Files Files podcast and look for The Meltdown with Kumail and Jonah on Comedy Central very soon. A couple of housekeeping things. On our Brendan Boogie episode a couple weeks ago, yes, I do know that Mickey Rooney is dead. You caught me. We recorded that episode prior to his death, and I just didn't edit out the reference. So I do know that he's dead. It just happened before, so you caught me. In other news, congratulations to our winners of the contest we've recently had on our Facebook page. We sent out a sealed clapper, as seen on TV, to somebody, and someone got a copy of an original shooting script from the show Out of This World. So please like us on Facebook, and you could win some fun things like that. I have plenty more prizes to give away. Email me at ken@ikenread.com if you have questions or comments or ideas for the show. I love hearing from you. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or SoundCloud, wherever you hear the show. Tell your friends, rate the show, review the show if you like it, which if you've gotten to this point in the episode, I presume that you do. And we'll see you next Wednesday on an all-new episode of TV Guidance Counselor.